We had a choice. It was either like join gangs or learn how to fight. We learned how to fight. I think that technology has given us an opportunity that we wouldn't have had 15 years ago.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the FYI podcast, Finding Your Inspiration. I got a special guest today, Jason Velo.
What's going on, everybody?
Jason's an incredible guy. He's an independent filmmaker, actor, director, writer. He also works in set decorating on major TV shows. We'll talk a little bit about those, but one of the biggest shows out right now, Emmy-winning show. You could thank Jason for making sure everything's in tune.
Season two. I wasn't on season one.
Season 2. And also some of your favorite movies with some of your biggest A-list celebrities. Jason's been a big part of working on those. So we're going to talk about that. But most importantly, before we get into what Jason's doing, we're going to talk about how did he get there? When did he find his inspiration? And how did he follow it? So let's get into it.
Dude,
man.
I don't think anybody's ever introduced me like that. I'm a little beside myself.
It's well deserved, man. It's well deserved. Talk to us. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you from? Where you grew up?
Sure, yeah. I mean, I grew up in the ghetto, in Santa Ana, California. A lot of people don't know it. They think Orange County is like, just by the beach and nothing but suburbia, but there's places as bad as anywhere there, and that's where I grew up. It's the part of Orange County that you avoid.
Yeah.
And so, moved around a lot, youngest of 5 kids, single mother, a lot of bad stuff. And so, we just, we had a choice. It was either like join gangs or learn how to fight. We learned how to fight.
Right. Yeah, and I know you take, you're really big into self-defense.
Yes,
martial
absolutely.
arts, definitely training. You keep yourself in shape. I know that's a big thing.
I think so, yeah. I think that a strong body breeds a strong mind. And so, I try and keep both as sharp as I can.
Absolutely. When did you first get into martial arts, and what discipline do you find your favorite?
Like I said, I'm youngest of 5. 4 of us were boys. And so, you grew up with 4 boys, you're going to fight.
Yeah.
I was actually the reluctant one. I was the one that was just quiet and watching. It wasn't until I was like 13, 14 years old, and my brother loves to tell this story of how he was up washing dishes and he heard somebody hitting the punching bag, and he's like, that sounds kind of good, actually. And so he walks down there to see what's going on. Little as you know, it's me, and I was actually paying attention. He's like, he actually was listening.
Nice.
And so it was just a consumption,
Yeah. Something you carried with you all through. I mean,
I remember watching UFC 1. It was actually the day after my 11th birthday.
Wow.
Yeah. And
is that Royce Gracie? Hoist Gracie.
I remember listening to my uncle have a conversation out front with this guy, and their argument was like, this guy's not going to win. Hoist, he's too small. And my uncle's argument was, no, you got to understand something. 90% of fights end up on the floor. So these guys are at a vast disadvantage immediately.
Wow.
Which is when I started learning about jiu-jitsu. And we just always, I've never been formally trained. We just take what we find useful, And so me being a shorter, more agile kind of guy, I'm going to lean towards those type of disciplines because that's what I can utilize to protect myself, to protect my loved ones, this, that, and the other.
Yeah, I noticed jiu-jitsu has become a huge thing.
It has, yeah.
Joe Rogan out there and the whole UFC. I mean, it's really been an incredible phenomenon how the UFC has changed the landscape of
for sure. And Rogan, I know he's a commentator and he understands, but he's a dangerous
he's
man.
a beast, right? I've seen him train on YouTube and stuff, and I'm like, wow, this guy's dangerous.
Very much so.
So cool, man. I want to talk a little bit about your passions. I mean, I know what your passions are, but let's talk about how you found them, acting, how you got introduced to it, and where were you at in life when you decided to actually pursue it?
Man, I was pursuing a career as a fighter. So I was taking jiu-jitsu classes, I was training, but at the same time, I wasn't giving it my full effort because I was working 2 jobs, had a girlfriend that requires time.
Right.
And in doing so, I had a buddy who was from Los Angeles. I'd never been to Los Angeles. I'd been here like twice before I officially moved out here. And we would just quote movies all day long. That's what I always enjoyed. I grew up in front of the TV, you know. TV Guide was my babysitter.
Right.
And so we would quote movies left and right, and he hounded me for like 2 years. He's like, you gotta take an acting class. You've gotta take an acting class. So one day I actually did at Cypress College with Mr. Alex Alfaro.
Absolutely.
And my life changed from that moment on. Wow. I was literally stuck with the crossroads of, what do I do from here? Do I fight for 15 years or so and maybe be successful? Or do I follow this newfound love and act for the rest of my life?
Wow.
So I chose acting and try to marry the two.
So is this around the time I met you? Like when
this was
we
maybe a
started
year
UTM
before you met me, because I didn't last long at acting classes in Orange County. I saw a lot of professional students.
Right.
You know, I lasted there 2 semesters, and the second one I was already commuting back and forth to LA taking acting classes up here.
Nice.
And so I think you came to see one of the plays because Alex had a lead role in there.
Yeah.
I was spear carrier number 2.
Okay.
But
I remember that. I think I came with Julian.
Yeah, I took 2 classes. That was it. And I realized very quickly, I can get stuck here. Maybe I'll play the leads, but I'm never going to actually make a career if I stay at community college acting.
Right.
So I went where the difficulty was.
Okay.
Out here in LA.
So you got introduced to it there, though. But that's still, that's important. A lot of our listeners, you know, National Core's a development company. They develop affordable living house. So a lot of the residents across the country live in affordable housing. And the main goal for us here on this show is to really help to inspire somebody that's sitting at home that's like, man, how do I do it? So you mentioned community college. I mean, that's how I was introduced to acting as well. And I just want to note, I think that's important to note that community college is a great place, not just for acting, but, for
whatever
any young person, right, to kind of get introduced. It's an inexpensive way to get introduced to different things. If you don't know exactly what it is you want to do, but you think you have passions for different things, it's a great way to get started. So cool. So you're at community college, you get introduced. I know who your teacher was. He's also a great mentor to many people.
Yeah, he put me through some stuff.
Yeah. I mean, and then you start coming to LA.
Yeah, I met you the week that I moved here.
Oh, wow.
So me and Alex moved out here together. We got a little apartment in, the slums of Los Angeles.
Right. It was a nice
apartment. He was already introduced to your theater company, and he's like, hey, come to this meeting with me. So that's the day that I tagged along, and then the next day you call him up. He's like, hey, does your boy want to do background voices for this show? I was like, yeah.
Was that Short Eyes?
That was Short Eyes.
Short Eyes. All right.
Yeah, I was like, is this how easy LA is? You just show up and then people give you jobs? No. 100% no.
It's not easy. And we don't give nothing.
Dude, you set the bar so high. I thought it was going to be a cakewalk from then on.
Yeah. No, the theater company was special. We did great with that show, actually. I think we knocked it out. LA Times Critics Picks. Right?
Everything. We had a full run, and then we had a whole nother
So that was your first play?
That was my first play, my first job in LA, and it grew substantially from just showing up.
Yeah.
Because when I first got there, I was listening to you and Julian having your conversations, talking about what you were doing, and I showed up with a notepad, which I guess you guys liked.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, we started with background voices, and then I ended up doing props for the show, which then turned into me playing Gypsy for the second round, which led to him trip to go to Miami.
His legs and wearing a dress in prison.
100%.
In Miami Herald actually gave a huge shout out to our show over there.
Yeah, it was great.
No, you did a great dedication to the role.
Yeah. And I met Rolston,
and you met,
who is now in my movie.
That's right. Yes, I want to definitely get into that. So one of the most important things I feel you can do, right, in life is show up and be prepared. Fake it till you make it.
100%.
Even if you don't know the skill or the craft yet, just showing up and being willing to learn. definitely usually will catch the eyes of people in positions of power that could maybe help you move along. Never gets easy, but you're a perfect example.
For sure. I would much rather have somebody, like now that I do direct, I would rather have somebody who doesn't know the specific skill set, but is at cause and is willing to work and to learn and to listen, than somebody who has been doing it for 20 years and has a bad attitude.
Right.
That's how I got a job set dressing. Wow. I literally quit Home Depot after 15 years on a whim, and I was shooting reels for people and taking headshots.
I remember.
And I got a phone call from a friend of my then girlfriend, now fiance, saying, "Hey, do you want to work on this HBO show?"
Wow.
This documentary called McMillions. And I told him, I was like, "Dude, I don't know anything about set dressing." He's like, "No, that's perfect. I know you work hard, I know you show up on time. You haven't learned any bad habits from anybody else."
Nice.
3 days later, he's got me driving the 5-ton truck.
Wow.
You know?
And let me tell you, these jobs are nothing to sneeze at. I mean, these jobs are paying upwards of $50, $60 an hour.
Oh, yeah.
What, 10-hour minimums? I mean,
minimums, yeah.
These are great jobs to get into. So, yeah, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Congrats on that.
And you turn that into whatever you want it to. So me personally, at that time, I knew I wanted to be a director. I knew that being a set dresser could lead me to that. So there's a position called an on-set dresser. And that person is responsible for the continuity, for moving the furniture, things of that nature. So like everybody knows about the Game of Thrones Starbucks cup. Had it been my set, that would have been in the trash.
Right.
So that's what I tell people. If it's in the frame, it's in the trash. Yeah.
Let's jump into your movie. This is incredibly exciting. So Jason has written and directed his first feature film starring Danny Trejo, Mark Ralston.
Miss Danielle Vega.
Yep.
Fantastic Emmy-nominated actress.
You might see a guy named Paul Tully make a little entrance.
Dude, you did a great job. You're going to be in there more than you thought you would.
Really?
Yeah.
That's the power of the director and editor. It looks like a 2-second thing. I'll be out through the whole movie. Yeah. No, but yeah, it was fun, man. I appreciate you giving me that nod. It was a great time.
Thank you. I appreciate your demeanor on set, because that was day one for us.
Oh, wow.
And as you saw, like there was technicalities with the camera situation.
Sure.
And meanwhile, you're keeping the morale up of everybody, using the set. I remember seeing you grab the prop phone. "Hey, Mom, hold on. I got to go. I just screwed up the shot. I'll call you back." It's like, dude. And because of that, everything went much smoother. So I appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate you for saying that.
And you did a great job.
You did a great job, man. I was really proud of you. I mean, I bragged about you because I had just finished Replica, so I know what it's like to coming from where we come from. I mean, kind of community college guys doing theater, not knowing anyone in Hollywood. To now you got Danny Trejo in your movie. I got Mickey Rourke. Like, who would have thought?
How was Mickey?
He's incredible. He's brilliant. I could only hope one day to be a craftsman at that level.
That guy's,
that guy makes it effortless.
That's beautiful.
How was Danny?
It was great,
man.
Be
great. I heard he's good. I met him in so Replica. This is interesting. This is a Danny Trejo story.
Okay.
So the short film Replica, because my film Replica was a short film first. It was a play, then I did a short, then a feature. The short film got into the Las Cruces International Film Festival. It's like a small film festival out in New Mexico. If anyone sees this from Las Cruces, I love you. Please reach out to me. I've been trying to. I lost your contacts. These guys and gals over there did an incredible film festival. Danny was the celebrity speaker.
Okay, he does that a lot.
Yeah. So Danny came out and I got to hang out with him for the evening. He was super cool. He took pictures with all the young filmmakers. And Danny Trejo was super cool, man.
He was really great. He came in and did all of his scenes. He was incredibly prepared. He had the questions. Every time I gave him an adjustment, he would knock it out. He had his own interpretation of the character that I didn't even see, and I think it's better than what I had in mind, honestly.
Oh, cool.
And he was just a pleasure with everybody on set.
How'd that feel? How, your family, are they so proud? And
oh, yeah. My mom is I had her running Crafty.
Yeah, I remember. I was hanging out with her at the Crafty. So Crafty is like the food table for anybody that doesn't know.
Any young filmmakers out there, rule number 1, feed your crew very well. Because there's a difference between putting out dry crackers and cookies and having your mom cut sandwiches and fresh fruit for everybody. It makes a world of difference.
No, it does.
Especially for the crew. If the crew is in a bad mood, they're not going to give you their best. Only so much effort goes towards the paycheck. I tell everybody all the time, I don't work for a paycheck. I work for people. If you want my best efforts, I have to like you. I have to believe in what you're trying to do. I think that that's what a lot of people saw in our production.
Yeah, I mean, I was only there the one day that I definitely took that. What was cool, it's like there's a thing, right? Like in anything we do with production, whether you're doing a podcast or a film or a play, there's this thing like when you're working at a studio, right? Like, the times I was fortunate enough to get cast in studio stuff, you show up to set, you're treated like we know that. Nothing compares to what Hollywood could do to a person. You show up to Sony, Warner Brothers. I remember my first booking.
You got goosebumps for sure.
Dude, it's like you're literally, it feels like you have hit this pinnacle point in your life. You booked a job. And I feel like every actor does the same. Like, I thought it was just me. When I got my SAG card, I remember taking pictures in front of SAG and thinking about my grandpa who was an actor when he was a kid. And it was just like, and then as you're in it, you notice every time somebody becomes SAG, they take pictures in front of SAG. And you're like, oh, this is a thing.
But that doesn't make it any less special. Like everybody that does it, that's a huge accomplishment. Think of all the people that came here and didn't get that far.
No, it is. It's huge. And booking your first studio thing, it's the same, right? They pick you up at the gate. So. Oh, you haven't?
Yeah.
You will. You will. It's coming, brother. It's coming. Sure. It's coming. Well, also on that, like my first studio booking was, it's a big deal. Then they take you to your trailer and it's Paul Tully and you got this trailer and then you sit there for 4 hours because you're
sit and wait, hurry up and wait.
So then I'm like, well, I guess let me humble brag. I'll go hang out by Crafty and for all the extras because I used to be an extra. And then I'm giving extras advice like, hey man, just keep working hard. You're gonna get here.
100%. Brad Pitt used to be an extra.
We all start off as extras. And
you got to do it at least a couple times just to understand what they do and where they come from.
How a set works. But what I noticed about yours, what I was getting at is, so that's the studio, and that's awesome that studios could give you guys that have 2 lines of trailer. But then there's the independent world.
Yeah.
So when I showed up to your set, you guys treated it like we were at a studio is what I'm saying. I walked in, hey, this is, my character's name. You had wardrobe for me. Everyone was hustling, treating me with respect. Obviously I'm not at Warner Brothers, but we're in this spot. Then I get to Crafty. And I had no idea that was your mother. I'm talking to her and she's the sweetest person. And I'm like, wow, look at like this cool that this lady's like, doing this. And then I find out, oh, that's your mom.
Yeah.
Bro, that made the whole difference. Because what I'm trying to get at is, now I'm rooting for you. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It isn't a job for me. It's exactly what you just said. This wasn't a job for me now. This was, I'm working for you. I'm rooting for your project. I want this to be successful because I'm seeing all the passion and time and selflessness that was put in on that. Because when you're working on indie, like our theater company, that's what made us, I'm going to say we're great.
It is.
I'm going to say UTM was great. We did great production.
I believe it was,
And I think that's what separated of what we were doing because we weren't the big theater houses on Broadway. We were a bunch of young, passionate, full of dreams, and we just put 6-hour rehearsals 5 days a week for free. Like when I think of that now, I'm like, dude, like we were rehearsing 6 hours a day, 5 days a week for free. And then I was working at Daniel's Jewelers and like, you know what I mean? And living in this little, I was renting a bedroom from this family in Downey. I just had this little bedroom and I would have to lock my door. The lady was like, you could put a lock on your door. You know what I mean? I slept 3 hours a night, you know, and then, it was crazy the amount of passion we put in.
You know what's interesting? I've auditioned for over 100 different projects. I don't even know how many at this point. But the ones that I remember that stick out to me are only a few. Like I've erased, when I do an audition, I get rid of the sides immediately. I let it go. It is what it is. I gave my interpretation. If they like it, they can take it. If not, send it right back. I don't ask about it. I just forget about it. Right. I remember auditioning for UTM for when we were doing those, not the 1X. I do remember my audition for the 1X, and I actually booked one of those jobs. But the first one, I didn't get cast in anything.
Yeah, I remember. That was a big one. Did you audition?
I auditioned and you gave me some feedback, and I don't remember what the feedback was, but I do remember just feeling crushed because I wanted that more than I wanted these studio things that I've auditioned for.
That's interesting.
And that's the goal, really. Like, the goal, personally for me, is to build a community of filmmakers around me that want to work with me. I always want a positive morale on set. I want people happy. I want people out on time. I don't believe in going into overtime. Like, I don't believe that you accomplish a whole lot in your 13th and 14th hour. These people are exhausted. They need to get home on time. They need to get the proper amount of rest. And in doing so, if I can create great movies and great TV series in the process, the best and the brightest will want to work with you. Because not only, you know, eventually the, you know, pay will get bigger, but it's always going to be a pleasant experience. I don't want anybody ever walking away from one of my sets saying, that guy's not for me.
Yeah.
You know, which is why I named my production company Below the Line Entertainment, because I know who gets the job done.
I love that. I love that you have love for the people and the crew, and you know, that's beautiful. Not everybody thinks that way. A lot of people, you know, I've been guilty, to be honest, of that stuff. Is you know, man, I'll drive that damn time. They gotta force me to stop. You know, how do you feel about where the industry's at today and the power of the independent artist, the independent filmmaker, and the old school studio directors? Or
I think we're at a crossroads. I think there's a lot of wrong and a lot of right going on. I think that technology has given us a opportunity that we wouldn't have had 15 years ago. You and I could not have made the movies that we made 15 years ago.
Absolutely not. Right.
You know, it would have required us to go to a 4-year school. We would have had to go to USC or New York Film Academy or something like that. I got 90-day crash course in filmmaking from Playhouse West. Best school I've ever been to. And from there, that was my foundation, and I've just built upon it from then, learning everything I can about filmmaking, learning as a set dresser, watching the grips, watching the electrics, watching the director, watching the sound, so that I can say, you know, I want to be on a 50 over here, I want to be at, you know, 2.8, and let's do a slow push in and parallax around at this point in the script. Meanwhile, I can tell the lighting guy, let's have it at like 4,500 Kelvin for the key. I'd like to get a nice hair light, and let's put that one at 37 just to have some contrast. Let's get a bounce underneath because this person has very deep set eyes. That's the
craft, the technique. You got the communication
that you can get, so that if you can be the great communicator, everybody gets out on time. You know, and I think that a lot of people are learning these skills, especially independent filmmakers, and we're telling stories that unfortunately the studios don't want to tell. We're telling original stories. We're telling, we're not making perfect characters. We're not conceding to, any political groups or activist groups and saying, no, I'm not casting based on what you want, I'm casting based on the story. Number one objective is to tell the story.
Yeah.
And in doing so, I think the independent filmmaker has an advantage.
Do you think that, no, I agree. I was listening to a Scorsese interview, and Scorsese was talking about, he said, my only regret is that I'm too old to live longer to continue to do the craft because of where it's going. He said in his day, you know, it was very difficult. Like, you're exactly right. We could never make the movies with you. Back then, it was so expensive to make a film. I mean, you're shooting on film. I mean, you're right. You had to be kind of like plucked from a university, you know, into the studio circuit.
Yeah. The number of people that know how to work on film in general nowadays is just minuscule.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting too, because I also like what Tarantino says is, he says, as a director, you don't have to know any of that stuff, which is great. You do, but like he comes from the school of you don't need to know anything. All you really need to know is how to delegate. That's why I'm hiring this DP. That's why I hired that lighting guy. This is what I want it to look like. Make it happen. But what his focus is dialogue, actors, and story. Yeah. So I like, you know, Tarantino has those aspects. But what Scorsese was saying, I love this. He was saying today, there's the cameras, the digital cameras. You could make a film for, you know, not nothing, but you could raise the money. It's like if guys like us could get the money raised, it's not like 30 years ago. Like we weren't going to raise 15 million 30 years ago. You know what I mean? Like that was like, so you could raise enough money today with all the crowdfundings and you could make your movie. And he said also the outlets for your movie to get seen because it's a communal experience.
Yeah.
So not all your movies need to be opening up at the Man's Chinese and the front. You know, you could literally rent Cinemark today for $200 and put 50 people in the theater, your family, your friends, and you have a community, and now they're watching your movie. And I love that because that is why we do it. It takes me back to theater, right? Theater's
for
like
sure.
10 people in the audience, and we're still performing like there's, I've literally performed for one audience member before. It was incredible. That. We went out, I mean, it wasn't always like that, but you know, we were doing 50-seat theater. But there was a night there was one audience member, and backstage, the director was like, look, man, we could return this money. I do not want you. And we were like, return what money?
Yeah.
Let's run it.
Absolutely.
And we performed for one person. I mean, crying. We're in there. We're going all in, you know, because why do we do it? Because we're artists and that passion. And so I like what Scorsese was saying. It's not about getting my movie. I mean, it would be great if our movies got huge. And it's about we created stories. We told them well, they're shot well, and if they move just one person.
Yeah, inspire some people. Like, as much as I love the availability of streaming, I do think that movie watching is almost a religious experience. I think the place for it is in a theater.
Sure.
I wish that there were more drive-ins available in the area. I miss those. But you got to start somewhere, and if starting at streaming is the way to go, I say do it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
put it up for, you know, put it up on YouTube. You know, you don't have to make money off of your first project.
No, yeah, as long as it gets seen. Man.
Yeah,
you know,
start small. I started with my first responsibility, my first job as a filmmaker was to tell a story in 10 seconds. You start there, and then you just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Tell a story in a minute. Tell a story in 5. Go to 10. Go to 20. Now you've got a pilot.
I like that.
You know?
Let me ask you the golden question. I don't even know if this is a golden question. I just made that up, but it's golden to me. I just said as long as it gets seen, but we know in reality that's not why we make film. That's not why we do theater. How does it feel to know that you created a story? Because your story, if I understand right, is very close to you. It's about a boxer. It's about a fighter. It's about redemption. It's about a journey. Why don't you just give us a quick 1-minute pitch about your film, the name of it, so people could look out for it if you want.
Sure. Yeah. My film is called Pug. It is a boxing movie. It is an underdog story. It is about myself playing the main character. And ultimately, while all of us have some fight of some form in our lives that we're fighting, this story is not just about boxing. It is about this character overcoming his particular obstacles and acquiring a family to call his own. The real win isn't in the ring. The real win is outside of the ring.
And you're about to have a win. You're engaged.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Wedding coming up. Congratulations.
Thank you, brother.
What is it that keeps you from hitting the snooze button in life?
Responsibility. Responsibility. I believe that I have a responsibility to myself, to my family, to my loved ones, and to my community. And because of such, I've seen what happens when you don't take responsibility and when you do. I want to have a positive effect on the people that I meet.
I love it. I love it. Well, you definitely do, man. I'm proud of you. I'm honored to be a friend of yours. I'm rooting for the film. I can't wait for it to come out. I'm excited for you for getting married. It's a big step. And thank you for coming down and tuning in with us on the podcast.
I'm excited for you to see it. It's going to be fun.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed sitting down with Jason. We'll put his socials up on here so you can follow him if you have any questions. I'm sure he wouldn't mind if you reach out to him.
Absolutely.
So this is Finding Your Inspiration, where we find our inspiration and we followed it. Today we just heard a story about a man who started off in a rough neighborhood, single mother, you know, the usual a lot of us have been through, made his way to community college where he found his passion. Remember, he was a fighter. His dream was to be a fighter. He found a new passion. You know, you might be on one road in life thinking this is what I want to do, and then you just get hit with something that makes you feel you'll know when you find it. So if you're out there and you're thinking, man, I don't know, I haven't found my passion yet, you'll know. You just keep seeking, just keep looking, keep trying new things. Don't be scared to try new things. And when you find it, follow it, go for it, because the rewards, they're unmeasurable. So I'm wishing you all luck. And I'm sending positive vibes and love to you and prayers. Thanks for tuning in.
You should never stress about the problems you be facing. Everybody in the mud on the struggle trying to make it. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration. I'm finding inspiration, and once I get a hold of it, I'll never get complacent. Look into the mirror and you see the motivation. Then you step into the world and you find your inspiration.